To break into CI Living for some severe weather that's moving through parts of our viewing area. We have a tornado warning that was just recently issued for Sangamon County until 4:30. Storm has radar indicated rotation with it as it's going through parts of the southern part of Sangamon County. I'm going to step off screen to make sure all of our streams are currently working because we're doing this on Facebook right now. And Kevin, if you wouldn't mind starting the stream, we could do that. For the website, yep. So here we go with our tornado warning. We've got this cell that has been coming through from Missouri, and as you now notice with the latest reflectivity scans here, you've got it coming and kind of making this bowing motion here. And a lot of times what happens with these bowing shapes like this is that you can get some circulation with that, and that's exactly what we have here. So we'll turn on our rotation, or our velocity I should say, and we will see that we're going to have some rotation being picked up there, and that's exactly where it is. So right there, just off to the northeast of Auburn, south of Chatham, that is where we have that rotation. You can see that we have the rotation there due to the different colors of the radar. The radar is picking up on those droplets of water in the clouds, and you've got the different directions going to as well as away from the radar, and that is what we have right there. And so we get the little bit of the interaction right there where they're very close to each other. That's where the rotation is. We had a new severe thunderstorm warning that just popped there for parts of Sangamon County, which would now include the Springfield area. And so we'll go to the warnings on that just to get you all the latest on that one. That warning does go now until 4:30. So we have basically now all of pretty much the eastern 2/3 of Sangamon County underneath a either severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning until 4:30. There has been a number of funnel clouds that these storms have produced when they were making their way into Illinois. So just off to the just crossing the Illinois line, a lot of times that they did have some rotation with them, but now we actually have this with this first tornado warning for us here for us. So we have this storm is moving off to the east at around 55 miles per hour, so I'm going to put a track on it since that is pretty fast, and we're going to do that from about that point right there, moving off to the east at around 55, so this is going to be pretty quick, going off to the far side of our screen here. So Pawnee 417, potentially Taylorville at 431, Moequa at 447, Macon at 451, and Sullivan at 510. That's what we'll be looking at for timing wise, and any communities that are near those cities, you want to make sure that you have a quick way of getting to safety. Again, we've got this tornado warning that goes until 4:30 in Sangamon County. And we'll turn on that velocity once again to show you where that rotation is being picked up at. The radar in Lincoln has picked up on that rotation. Currently don't have any reports of anything on the ground. There have been a couple of power outages being reported in Auburn, which would have been right in that area. So if we kind of back up a little bit, that circulation did go right over Auburn, so that may have been something there that did end up touching down. We're not sure as of yet. And we also have emergency managers saying that a local spotter has reported that in Pawnee that they have activated their sirens. So that's good news there. The sirens are working for them. And so that's what we're looking at. That's the rotation that we've seen pop up here with this storm as it's been moving off to the east. As we kind of go back in time, you can see that the rotation kind of just spun up pretty quickly here. It was mainly for a line of storms that had very strong winds with it, and now we notice as we got kind of right over the Auburn area, now getting close to Pawnee, there has been that rotation that's being picked up on the radar, and so that's what's prompted the warning there. These storms, as you've been noticing, across central Illinois today, they've all had a very strong wind threat with them. Our 5 o'clock newscast will have a lot of videos that you've probably seen on social media of those storms. But today we've not actually seen a tornado warning until right now. Again, here's what it looks like on your normal standard view of your radar. The reason being, we've got that kind of push out here, that kind of bowing shape, which has created a little bit of some rotation that has been allowed to show up on the radar there. This would also show anyways that this storm would be capable of producing very strong winds, because when you get that bowing out effect like that, you usually do get some strong winds associated with those storms, and so that will be another thing to look out for as well, in addition to the tornado threat. We'll take a look at Okay, so the National Weather Service just got a new update here. They trimmed their warning right there. I'm going to put this back to velocity just so we can get the latest there. So it still looks pretty good there. National Weather Service will continue on with the tornado warning until 4:30 for Sangamon County. Severe squall line capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight line wind damage was located near Chatham or 10 miles south of Springfield, moving east at 50 miles per hour. So that makes sense. We have not only the rotation being picked up right there by the radar, signifying that a tornado could form out of this. Based on the view of our storm itself, it also backs up the fact that this will likely have some very strong winds with it too. So keep that in mind as this moves off to the east. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to again do a track for it. It's got a new mile per hour with it. So we've got it at 50 miles per hour and moving off to the east there. So doing another track. So Pawnee, about right now, 416, Taylorville 433, Assumption 449, Moequa 453, and Bethany, if it goes that far, until 511. This storm has capability of not only producing tornadoes, but also extensive straight-line wind damage based on the shape of the storm and the trajectory that it's had. I'm going to zoom out now and show you where everything is at. For those of you who don't know where we are, turn the radar back on. And I'll loop this for you guys, and I'll turn the lightning on too just to show you that we've seen a lot of lightning with these storms as well. Here's where we're at. So there's Springfield, Sangamon County. We had the storms that produced those warnings earlier on, which had a lot of damage in the Thomasboro area. Those storms are actually all the way over into Ohio right now. We then have seen more scattered storms that have been popping up here, and so we do have some cells that you can be seen by the Tuscola area, kind of right over Sullivan, into parts of Shelby County there, right by Neoga. So that is what we've had coming in from that. And I think we just got a new tornado warning for parts of Fayette County. I've not gotten anything with that just yet. So hold on a second. Looks like we do have two boxes there. Okay, Montgomery County, excuse me. So now we have it for Montgomery County at 4:30. The tornado warning has kind of been pushed down a little bit more. So that's coming from St. Louis. Radar indicated still a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over White Oak, moving east at 45 miles per hour. So we have two individual tornado warnings there. One for Montgomery, the smaller one, and then Sangamon County. Both go until 4:30. And here's the velocity there. You've got two little spots of rotation that we're kind of eyeing there. That sometimes happens when you have these big kind of squall line storms where you can end up getting a couple different spots of rotation. And so that's why they've put that warning out there just to be safe there. But this storm definitely is capable of not only producing a tornado, but also very strong winds as well. We'll back out of it and we'll put a new track on it for the kind of the whole area now for that, since both of those kind of lobes of the bow itself have warnings on it. All right, Taylorville's now popped theirs too, so we'll get that information. Still about 45, 50 miles per hour. So Kincaid at 426, Taylorville at 433, Moequa at 452, Flat Branch at 455, and Bethany at 510 should things keep on going the way that they're going. All right, so let's get the new information here for Christian County. So we have still the radar indicated warning there for Christian County. Severe thunderstorms capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight-line wind damage were located over White Oak, or 12 miles east of Verdon, moving east at 45 miles per hour. This is kind of right where the same spot that Kevin was at. That was just last week. So kind of the same spots getting hit once again with our severe thunderstorms and tornado warnings with this. Here's our velocity. And again, you've got that pretty good couplet showing up right there by the Pawnee area. Right there. So if you are living in any one of these areas, Pawnee, Edinburgh, Stonington, Taylorville, Bear Creek, Locust, and any spots that are near that aren't showing up on our system, please be getting to your safe spot as quick as you can. Hopefully you're there already. They are watching the two circulations on the radar, one just to the north of Pawnee and then one just to the east of White Oak, which I'm assuming would be down here a little bit. It's not popping up on our system. but it would be right by that. Was that Kevin? Is that Buoys Dark? That how you say it? Bodark. I'm not very good with my French.
It's okay. Here, I'll throw a mic on here.
Yep. We got the chief coming in here, so he's gonna. He was out shooting with his Sky 3 drone.
We were out shooting some of the earlier damage that was obviously up near Thomasboro, and they got pretty good in many areas picking up damage from those earlier storms. But now we've got this next round that is currently moving through, and so yeah, we've got some of this severe weather. Anyway, you could. Are you able to give me GR on that? Do you have?
I can get that. Yep.
Because it's showing a. I can show.
Is it better?
Just a little bit there, and I can kind of show you a little bit better of some of that
oh, no.
rotation. Here we go. I got you.
Okay.
There we go. There we go.
There we go.
So here is a look at that rotation there, and so what we're looking at right in that area of near Pawnee, where we basically got some of that blue showing up, is indicating some of that rotation that's there, and so that is going to be heading, yeah, there to the north and east towards the Edinburgh area. So you can kind of see this. See this, how this kind of is a little bit of a notch right there, right over the Pawnee area. And so where you got this little guy that kind of sticks out here, little nub, we like to call it, that is where a lot of times on these little squall lines that you can get a quick little spin up of a tornado to occur. And so that's what we've got there just to the north of Pawnee, and that's moving off here to the east. And so as we kind of stair step this through, you can see it's kind of off to the north and to the east. And so yeah, you're talking Edinburgh there before too long. You're going to want to be paying close attention to that area right there as that comes into portions of Christian County. But that rotation is right there where you've kind of got some of all those colors coming together. The red, the greens, the blues, they're all kind of indicating the very strong winds associated with that storm as it moves off there to the northeast. And so that is why the tornado warning is still in effect for portions of Sangamon County there. And again, Jack, they've had, confirmation from some spotters there, I believe, of seeing some of that rotation, and it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
When we've got that there. So again, this is ironically almost in the same area as what we had last week.
Right, yeah.
Almost the same exact location and tracking the same way. So it's going to track right there along the Sangamon and Christian County line with those storms as they're kind of moving across. So definitely be on the lookout there in the Edinburgh area over the next 10 or 15 minutes as this thing's moving at a pretty good clip. And it looks like it's trying to get kind of, that line's kind of trying to catch up with it. So if we just step this back, I'm going to show you how that little nub that I was talking about, you can see that a little bit more prominently displayed right there. Oh, I think you switched me off.
Did I?
Yeah, if you can.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. No worries. So you can kind of see in that area right here where we've got that little nub that was there, and I'm going to just kind of step you into the next few frames of this, and you're going to see how it starts to go away just a little bit, as you can see. And so what we've got here instead is that very strong line of winds. That whole thing has still got some very strong winds with it, but you can almost notice here where some of those reds and blues are kind of coming together, where you've got that. Jack, can you, I'll tell you what, can you make that just a little small? I think we're zoomed in on the
GR?
Yeah.
On the actual
yeah,
image?
just make that streaming video just a little bit smaller on the size there. Yeah. Perfect.
Oh yeah, no wonder.
Yeah, it was a little bit big there, but yeah, there we go. And so I'm still seeing some rotation there. It's not as strong as what it was, but that's kind of what we're looking at right there. You see where kind of that blue is right there. That's essentially showing us the rotation in the storm. So right there where that blue is. So that's in a kind of a rural area. As you can see, I will shut off, and you can see it's very rural, a lot of, country farm roads out there. And of course, you've got just to the north of Tovey, that lake that's there in Kincaid. I was driving around it.
So that you got stuck around there.
Stuck around that the other day. But that's where some of that rotation currently is right now. Right there northwest of Tovey and Kincaid, and it's right there in that little notched area. So as I have said several times now, here in Edinburgh, that's where you're going to want to watch out for that as it comes across. And Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, but those storms that we had earlier, they didn't really get into this area much?
Correct. Yeah, this is a relatively untapped area of the atmosphere. We were kind of waiting to see if the storms that we had coming through earlier were going to kill off our chances of seeing storms now, but I think where these ended up forming, they had the energy needed, and now they might be able to just kind of plow through potentially any of that overworked atmosphere that came through earlier. The thing is, though, is that while you were shooting your drone footage, Kevin, stuff did get pretty warm and sunny over there on that side of the viewing area, and so these storms do have some gas and some juice to work with.
So it's kind of the really wide view. There's some pretty good storms over here east of Tuscola and whatnot, but I don't think those have any warnings on them right now.
No, they do not.
But the one that is obviously the biggest concern is where we've got some of that rotation right there west of Kincaid, and you can see it's trying to come together again. As you get, and just let me show you. I want to take this back to kind of show you what the real tight circulation was that spawned this. Do you see that? See the bright blues right there? That was earlier west of Auburn. See where the blues and the red are kind of all together right there? That is what spawned the initial tornado warning, was west of Auburn there, that little circulation. Now watch that area, okay? You're going to watch this as it moves off to the north and east. It'll lose some of that bright blue color as it steps off. Okay, now it's trying to come back again a little bit, but it is not as much as what it was. But there's still that obvious rotation that is showing up there north of Tovey, northwest of Kincaid, and that's going to come right into Edinburgh in the next couple of minutes. That's going to be right on top of you in Edinburgh here in just the next couple of minutes. Right here is where you've got that little notch, okay? You've got this inflow into the storm that comes in here, wraps around, and you get this little area right here that's rotating north of Tovey. And we're going to have to watch that carefully, because if that can start to come together just a little bit tighter, once again, we would have a tornado. I'm going to quickly look at something called the correlation coefficient that kind of shows us if there would be any debris. I'm not seeing anything right now. So there was the report there in extreme northern what is that?
Montgomery County.
That they had that tornado there, like you said, near White Oak. So that was, right to the south where that notch would have been earlier. And so now that is moving off there to the north and east. And so there's our storm. Still showing that rotation with it, and so I'd be watching out in Edinburgh here over the next few minutes.
Yeah, the Kincaid area right there, Edinburgh right there is where you're talking about. That's where the rotation does it to be the best. And if this still has enough to keep on going for the next 16 minutes, we might see this kind of do more cycles, like you were showing, Kevin, how it looked pretty impressive there, and then it kind of fell apart. We'll see if it is able to kind of re-strengthen back up again. But yeah, these storms earlier on, I'm going to throw up a picture here really quick. A storm earlier on, when it was crossing over into the viewing area, has produced a couple of funnel clouds. And so this was in Chapin, Illinois, which is in Morgan County. And so that popped up. And there's actually a few of those storms, or a few of those funnel clouds that we're seeing, but there just really wasn't any rotation with them. And now we have definitely seen the rotation with these storms. Again, we've got these 2 tornado warnings. They go until 4:30, and then we got this new one that goes until 4:45 for a majority there of Christian County. And got just a tremendous amount of lightning with these as well. And we have, again, bigger storms that are still going through closer to the I-57 area there. So you got a number of cells coming in by Tuscola. I mean, these are also good-looking storms here, too. We'll turn the lightning off so you can see them. You got by Neoga there, in and around Windsor, nearby Sullivan, Lovington. All those spots there seeing quite a bit of storm activity there with some of these heavy heavy storms. Hail really hasn't been much of an issue with these storms today. We'll take a look at those. Okay, so it's 4:30. We now have just the one part of Sangamon County and then Christian County tornado warning there. Hail, not much of an issue. So that's some good news, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'll throw your GR back on.
Is. There we go. So, again, that storm that we're looking at coming into Edinburgh right now, that's where the rotation is located. You can see it trying to tighten up a little bit there. Yeah, I think there might be something trying to form there. Again, it's going to be just south of Edinburgh. If you're in Edinburgh, I would be in your tornado safe place for sure. That's going to be right there along Highway 29. That is going to cross Highway 29 here very shortly. We're starting to see this thing tighten up a little bit more with the circulation on it. Enough to where that tornado warning still in effect here, because it is 4:30. What have they done with this warning? Because it is 4:30 now.
Well, the new one was now for 4:45.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah. So just put it back up there. That's where you can see it.
Gotcha.
So 4:45 now.
Okay, so 4:45. There's still that rotation now. You see this here? See this little green spot there? That is the radar picking up on the rotation. So that is just south and west of Edinburgh now, where that rotation is definitely showing up right there where those reds and those greens kind of come together. Here's your rotation. That's Highway 29 right here. That's Edinburgh, and this is moving off here to the northeast. And so between Kincaid and Edinburgh is where that rotation is currently located. You're going to be heading into central portions of Christian County. This will miss Taylorville. It's north of Taylorville right now, but that storm is going to cross 29, and then eventually down the line, you want to be looking out towards Stonington. You've got some time, and between Blue Mountain and Moequa, we'll see how this thing continues to develop. But right now, the largest concern is going to be on the south side of Edinburgh, as that storm will move right across Highway 29 in the next couple of minutes.
And even though we have been talking about the rotation with it, which there are a number of different parameters that we can see on the radar that are showing us that we do have rotation. There's also the straight-lined wind threat with this too. A lot of times these storms today, especially, and as we're now kind of pulling up here with our velocity, Kevin, you can see that we've got those strong winds showing up there too. So even straight-line wind damage is going to be an issue with these storms as they come through, because it's kind of making a bit more of a line now.
It is, and with that, it's kind of a double-edged sword there. While it makes it into more of a line, that takes away the tornado threat a lot of times. It kind of, cuts off that inflow there into the storm, and what we call kind of lines out, becomes linear. But sometimes that can be worse because you can get more widespread wind damage.
Yeah, more people can be in the way of that.
More people can be in the way of that than just sometimes a small tornado that can affect usually a smaller area. But definitely, we're still seeing this rotation. It's basically, you got the reds and the greens there, and I'm starting to see a little bit of an uptick there.
Yeah, coming up a little bit.
A little bit of that orange pixel. These are all little pixels that basically make up the wind there, and so you've got that brighter orange little pixel that's starting to show up there south of Edinburgh. And so this thing literally is probably crossing over 29 here in a minute or so as it comes right across. It looks like it is south of Edinburgh. That's just south of Edinburgh by a mile or two.
Yeah, it's close.
But then, so the next thing we're going to be watching for down the line would be then the Stonington area. We'll see where it goes. It could track there between Blue Mound and Stonington if the rotation continues. But we're going to see if this line catches up to it and kind of cuts it off. It's been pretty persistent to try to keep this little notch out here. You can see the last few frames. I mean, you can almost kind of see the whole thing rotating as we kind of go back. Just kind of watch that little nub area there. It's still there. It's still there. And it's trying to cut it off, but we've still got that rotation that's showing up. And still something to be concerned about. Again, just to kind of show you, there clearly are some houses there. This is rural, but while it may not be going through a large city, there are still plenty of houses. You can see that on the satellite images there, that there would be people clearly affected by this storm as it comes across. So while, yes, it may not be going through any large areas right now, people still live there in that part of Christian County. So
yeah,
we are on the air letting you know about that.
And we've got 10 minutes left of the tornado warning. I'm not sure if that's clicking here. I've got a couple of things from the emergency managers. Pawnee Road at Dickey Road, power line down, so that would have been back a little bit in Pawnee area. But that's the latest coming in out of there.
Yeah, I'm sure there probably was a little bit of damage over there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean...
They had that report of the actual tornado down.
So a lot of people talking about sirens being activated. We know a lot of you are watching on our Facebook Live here as well. Saw some people talking about how they've got 2 boys that are over there in the Edinburgh area right now. And hear the sirens that are going off. It says that they're scared. You can understand that, but just go to your tornado safe spot over there, and lowest level of your home, center part of your house, best place to go, and ride the storm out there. These things have been moving at a pretty good clip. You're talking, was it 50, 55 miles an hour?
Yeah, 50 miles an hour.
So they are fast-moving storms, and so hopefully can quickly move across. But that warning still in effect for Christian and southern Sangamon County until 4:45 p.m. And so we'll have to see what this thing does, because as we mentioned, that area has not been worked over from the earlier storms.
Correct. Yeah.
So, you get into northern Shelby County and you get into southern Macon County there, and there might be an atmosphere for these to feed off of to continue to maintain their strength.
So I hear that we've got a image of some damage from Auburn, Illinois, if you guys wouldn't mind showing it. Oh, there we go. Yes, it looks like silo blown over there, and a number of other aluminum sheds that have damage there to their siding, the doors, and the roof there. That's from Auburn, Illinois, which is an area that these storms have passed through. As you can kind of tell with the loop here, as you keep on moving it like that, you can see that it's moving a lot faster than the individual cells are out ahead of it. And so that's why we're also looking at just a strong straight line wind threat with this, because this thing's going at a very good pace here.
Hey, if you can,
I got you back up
take
now.
me back. So we're going to take, so you can see that report. Here's that report. They had 65 mile an hour wind report there to Auburn. But let's just back this up to when this was over the Auburn area. And that's going to be where we had, again, look at that tight rotation that was located there that passed through. So whether it was that or that little pixel there of blue, the radar is indicating 70 mile an hour winds there, so that is no surprise that there has been some damage out there. Now it looks like those are some grain bins, or was it some silos there?
Yeah.
Not sure which they were, but you can see, it's rural areas there in Sangamon County, farming country out there where that would have been, and so that's no surprise that there is damage. And now that storm, with that same rotation, same strong winds, passing south of Edinburgh now, and now pushing east of and east of 29, and that thing, it's picking up it's steam. That thing is rocking across now. And so now you're going to be watching there north of Taylorville, and south and west of Stonington is where that current area of strong winds are, and moving off there to the east with that. So Stonington, I would be on the lookout watching for that storm there. But yeah, that was some impressive damage once again, unfortunately, what we're dealing with out there with those storms.
Yeah, let's put a track on this for those of you who are kind of downstream a little bit of this storm, and we'll do that so that way you can kind of see where it is. Again, it's the wide view there. We have a number of storms that are south of 72, as you can see, would be ahead of these tornado-warned storms here. But as we kind of just step a couple steps back, the individual cells in front of them are moving much slower than the line is with the tornado warning. And so we got a cell here in Christian County that's actually going to get swallowed up. And so now there's a new severe thunderstorm warning out until 5:45 for Christian, Macon, Sangamon, and Shelby counties for 60-mile-per-hour winds, under 1-inch hail, so that's good. Just mainly a wind threat with this, but tornadoes still possible with this warning here. We'll put a track on this, though, because this is going through a couple spots that we have had issues with in the past in terms of some severe weather. I'm going to do it based off of our velocity there, and we still do have that bit of rotation showing up there, but we'll put a track on it. So it's going to the east still at around 50 miles per hour, and so you'd be looking at May by 443, Moequa 457, Dalton City at 513, Sullivan 525, and Arthur at 535 if this were to keep on going at that speed with that intensity. Emergency manager saying that getting a lot of unconfirmed reports of debris and power damage in Auburn. They have units en route to start debris assessment, though, in Auburn.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look out for probably some more pictures out of that, as well as a more official
I'm sure our
reason what happened.
Newsroom and crew is efforting pictures from social media, and if you guys have pictures, you can send them to us. If you see something on social media, you can alert it to us. You can send us emails, weather at WCIA.com or news at WCIA.com, or of course our Facebook page. I know our crews are going to be on our social media pages, scanning for those pictures, finding those, and passing them along to us when they do find them. But the Auburn area in southern Sangamon County definitely looks like they got hit with that. Now, just to give you an update on this storm here, losing some of the rotation with the storm. I mean, there's still a little bit there. It's going to be south of Stonington. It's going to be that area right there. But we, it's kind of lost that little notch there once again. But there is still some rotation, if nothing else. Still some very strong winds as that storm comes across. What's going to be interesting is, we've got these other storms out ahead here, and they're not, they're not moving a ton, and as that interacts with this line here, we'll see what happens when these cells merge.
Yeah, it'll be, if it helps it or hurts it, sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen until it starts to interact.
Sure, so we'll watch that as those two guys kind of come together. But right now, the tornado warning still in effect for another 3 minutes. We'll see what the Weather Service decides to do.
Got nothing on their end right now about that, so we have to just kind of ride this out here.
In the area of concern is southwest of Stonington right now, northeast of Taylorville. So now you're talking about Highway 48. 48 that, of course, comes right out of Decatur, down the line between Booty, Blue Mountain, down to Stonington. And so this is, it already crossed over 29, it's crossing 48, and eventually maybe heading towards Moequa and northwestern portions of Shelby County there, so we'll be watching this area. But again, all along this line are still some pretty strong winds here. So Decatur, you guys are going to want to be looking out even just for the wind aspect of this. I know we focus on the tornadic aspect of the storm a lot, but these winds can be just as dangerous. Yeah,
these winds are going to be likely, kind of what we had earlier on today. The atmosphere is still primed for us to have those potential 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts that get reported, and so we'll have to look out for that.
So there,
that's a look at our Springfield camera, and I had it aimed earlier on at the storms that were approaching, and then we had all these tornado warnings, and so I was not able to aim it now. But the storm is really past there now at this point, so we'll just be looking at just a lot of clouds, as well as looking into the rain.
Oh, interesting. Possibly got a little, there could be a debris signature that was formed from north of Auburn. That may have been a tornado debris signature there. Let me see here. I'm going to bear with me for a second. You're going to see some funkiness on the radar for just a second as I kind of look at all the parameters all in one box here and try to line up and see if that's what we could have had. Let's see if on this next scan that we get, yeah, that would be pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close.
Pretty close,
yeah.
Where all of those are kind of together. Co-location is what we call it, basically the higher reflectivity with the rotation and the velocity scan. lining up with the lower correlation coefficient, which basically means the radar beam is going out and hitting an object that is not shaped like a raindrop or a hailstone. Instead, it potentially is tree branches or sheet metal, 2x4s, things like that if a tornado did occur. And so I think that there very well could have been a tornado there that caused some of that damage near the Auburn area. So that was earlier. I'll get us back to the regular view of where the storm is now, which again is now all the way over here into the Stonington area. And so now it'll be interesting, as I mentioned, as those storms kind of come together, you're starting to see a little bit more of that orange, which is indicating some of those higher winds. So when we see either a bright blue or a bright orange, when we get into the oranges or the blues, those are strong winds. And when they come right next to one another, then they've got rotation associated with them. And so that is an area that we're watching. And look at those two cells that are just merging here right now. So those two, I'm going to back that up so you can see these two cells coming together. We'll see if that creates any little, bit of a
increase in rotation there.
Little, outflow, little eddy there that can form, and see if that does anything. But it's an area that we are definitely keeping a close eye on and watching right there near Stonington. I'm sure if any spotters are out there, they might be seeing some of that rotation showing up. But you can see, so there's Mowequa. That's going to pretty much hug right along the Christian, Macon, and Shelby County line there as that moves off there to the east.
Just got to, I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the Auburn area, but I just want to double check here. Report of a very large tree that was down.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if there's quite a few little reports there from Auburn and whatnot. Of whether trees and maybe power lines or like
Route 4 and Curran Road, several grain bins blown over, damage to several outbuildings, large 12-inch diameter tree, approximately 55 feet long, down across the road.
Wow, that's a large tree.
Yeah, that's a big tree.
That is a huge tree there. Okay, so tornado warning no longer in effect.
Yep, I'm going to go back to our storm tracker view here off the GR. And so we do just have the severe thunderstorm warning for Christian, Macon, Sangamon, and Shelby counties here until 5:45. And so now at this point, we have seen now that rotation-wise is probably not going to be looking all that impressive. We're still going to keep an eye out for things here because the special wording with this warning is that there is still the possibility of a tornado. And you'll see with our velocity that we still do have kind of right in that same spot that we've been talking about there, right by the Stonington area, that we do have some of that rotation. And so that's going to be one of the areas that still might spin back up potentially. But the main point right now will be the strong winds that we have with this one, as wind gusts could be up to around 60 miles per hour. With this. We'll turn our lightning on too. We've had a lot of lightning strikes with these cells coming through the viewing area. And so just to give you an example of how many we're looking at here, oh, that's going to be wrong. Hold on. Here's our button here. Just a lot of lightning. In fact, you've had a couple of interesting videos come into us earlier on of the lightning, but over 1,600 strikes with these storms out there. So there's a lot going on. But the main focal point that we've been having to deal with today has been our strong winds, and then most recently we've had the rotation there with the tornado warning. Now we've had that expire, and we just have a severe thunderstorm warning, which sometimes isn't just because you can get the straight line winds, but that rotation at least does not look to be as prominent.
Yeah, it's lined out a little bit. Again, a little more linear structure, which would, still indicate strong winds with this line as it moves across. It's going to be heading towards Mowequa and hitting southern portions of Macon County in the next few minutes or so as it moves off there to the east. So that whole line, as it races across, I mean, if it would hold together, you can see eventually Booty here, Long Creek, and way down the line, Tuscola. But that line probably is going to make it that far.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's still severe, but you're definitely going to get some good storms regardless. But we are, like 10 minutes away from the top of the newscast. Of course, we've had an active day of storms across central Illinois that started even earlier this morning, late in the morning hours into the afternoon.
Yeah, I got a couple pictures already ready to go for the 5 o'clock newscast. We can just kind of put them through here. From the Seymour area there with that shelf cloud coming through earlier on. Very impressive looking there with our storm structure. This was the view from southwest Champaign with the lowering as the storms came into town here. Rose sent us that one. Victor sent this one, and we showed this one earlier on. That was off to the west, and that's in Chapin, Illinois, so it's closer to the Illinois River. That one has that funnel cloud there, and that's the storm that eventually prompted these tornado warnings that we had. And then we had this tree damage here.
Watch that. Watch this tree. Just, oh,
it's gone.
Man.
If our system was capable of having audio with it, it was kind of interesting.
Tanya said what many of us would probably say when you watch your tree branches.
Couple of special 4-letter words.
Yeah, well, that tends to happen sometimes. But again, then this was, of course, up around.
This is what you were doing.
This is what I was doing earlier today. As storm damage came through up there, we're going to have details about it's the Ealer Brothers. I believe they do agricultural, like fertilizer stuff. That's a garage right there that pretty much exploded, and then that went into another barn there in a garage area, and so they got some big time damage up there, and we're going to be having a report. We'll talk to, I believe, the owner up there of this company and talk about the damage that has been sustained. So that's coming up here on our newscast through this evening, so stick around for all of that. But we're still monitoring a pretty strong thunderstorm here, and you can start to see some more of those little oranges, those brighter colors showing up south of Blue Mountain. So I'd say Moequa, just south of Blue Mound, west of Moequa, that's going to be an area where we've got some of those winds as that storm begins to kind of come in there as the severe thunderstorm warning continues. But even up here now, coming into western Macon County, we'll be watching Decatur from Harristown and to Decatur and Booty as that moves off to the east. Here's another loop as that races on off there. Currently, the tornadic portion of the storm that we had earlier is not showing those same characteristics. Everything's kind of getting, again, lined out a little bit, but you can still see there is some rotation, or I should say some strong winds all along that entire line of storms. So we'll have to be monitoring that very closely here as that area moves off here to the east. So again, the damage pictures that Jack was showing you was up here into the Rantoul and Thomasboro area earlier as those storms kind of came through. There were some reports maybe around Gifford too of maybe a power line or some trees down, and so that was earlier. So that area may not see much because the atmosphere got worked over a little bit more, but south of that, not so much, which is why they're saying this next round of storms to move through.
Think we should continue until 5 o'clock?
Oh, well, I think probably. We'll just stick with it here.
Yeah.
So we'll stick with it. We still have the severe thunderstorm warning, right?
Yeah, we do. We do. Okay. Yeah. And all right, so National Weather Service, 1 mile north of Auburn. Emergency manager does report tornado at 4:08 p.m. Damage to grain bin and outbuilding, 55-foot tall, 12-inch in diameter tree down across the road. So that's...
Yeah, so that lines up perfectly with the radar.
Correct, yeah.
There was a debris signature that definitely showed up with that. So no surprise that there was a tornado. It was a very tight couplet with the velocity, which is all the indicators that we need to see on radar. Without having our eyes out in the field, we can see on radar, and it was a pretty good area that was showing up, and so it was seemingly very easy to be able to detect that.
Just kind of going back with our velocity there, you know, it's right there in Auburn. It was...
Yeah, zoom in on that. You can zoom in on that, and
yeah, it's...
Step back just a couple, right in there.
Yep.
Right there is where you really had a really good couplet. Those blues, greens, blues all come together, and then the strong winds.
Yep.
that went right through Auburn there. So there's probably a combination of a possible spin-up tornado, but also there could be some straight-line wind damage with that as well. And that thing just rocked right through there. Now that is all the way off to the east. So it went through kind of the Pawnee area and is all the way into Christian County. And now they're into
parts of extreme southwest Macon County.
Yeah, that little pink area. That's starting. Those winds are starting to kick up there.
Get back up a little bit. Yeah, just by Moequa. Kind of right there. Another strong uptick in our winds would have been, well, it's between Mount Auburn, right by Osborneville. That would be where you've got an additional uptick in your winds there, too.
Yeah, those winds just west of Moequa looking pretty good, and so that's going to be there along Highway 51 before too long. Between Macon and Moequa on Highway 51, you're really going to see some winds, I think, as this storm continues to increase. That's going to come across there and ride right along and potentially down the line into portions of Moultrie County, if that kind of stays along there into Dalton City. That's kind of the long-term look at that. But I know you look at that on radar and you say, yeah, okay, some reds in there. But, how does the storm, really look? Well, that's why you have to look at the velocity, because then you can really see what the winds are doing in these little pockets of winds. And this is exactly what we had earlier, like up around Thomasboro and the Rantoul areas. We had these little pockets within the embedded storms that had the strong winds with them, and that's what did some of the damage. Now, sometimes those winds will stay aloft. They'll stay up several thousand feet. Sometimes, as the storm kind of collapses a little bit, it will release those winds. Those winds will come rushing down to the surface, and that will cause the widespread damage like we saw up to the north. So that line with the severe thunderstorm warning continues. Here are those tornado reports again. So we have the one there in Montgomery County. Here are those reports in Auburn with those grain bins down, debris and power outages. And so a couple different reports that, probably was the same tornado, but they get the different reports and they kind of filter those out eventually as you go forward. But here's the line they're watching. Macon County, you are #1 under the gun right now with the strongest storm there. Actually going to watch this area here too. If that
it's starting to get up a little bit more tighter, yeah,
a little bit. We'll have to continue to watch there. It's going to be west of Booty, and then that would be coming towards Decatur. So Decatur, and you can see it even there. There's a little rotation trying to increase a little bit there with that storm as it comes into Decatur, and trying to get a little bit of an inflow into that as well, right through there, that little notched area. So we'll have to continue to watch this carefully as well. So I know that we are going to be getting a complete recap here coming up at the top of the hour. So we want you to stick around as we talk about the storms from earlier. Of course, we'll give you an update on the storms that are currently moving through parts of central Illinois here. And stick around here with us, and we're going to recap things, and we will get you everything you need to know with the news and weather when we come back. So stick around.